Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a Total War Warhammer video. Today we'll be continuing our Missing Character series, where we'll discuss their lore, their rules on the tabletop, and how they could translate into Total War Warhammer. Today's topic is Festus the Leechlord, so without further ado, let's begin. To better introduce this character to those who might not be aware of him, we'll read over his entry into the Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition army book for the Warriors of Chaos. Festus the Leechlord. If an unfortunate traveller were to stray onto the twisted roads that lead from the northern forests into the Chaos Wastes, he might be paid a visit by an unsavory individual during the dark of the night. A shuffling, muttering figure stalks these lands, his moth-eaten robes gently clinking with vials containing unimaginable concoctions, which he is seeking to test out upon those he can catch or deceive. A devotee of the plague god Nurgle, this mysterious apothecary is quite mad. Though he once bore the respect of physicians, alchemists and scientists across the length and breadth of the old world, Dr. Festus was once a skilled chirurgeon who found hospices all across the province of Nordland, and was as compassionate as he was gifted. Specializing in curative unguents and salves, the good doctor cured hundreds of people every year. With Festus's guidance, Nordland overcame outbreaks of the screaming ague, blackleg, and even the crippling ghoulpox. It was the onset of gnashing fever that marked the beginning of the end for Festus. Try as he might, the doctor could not stem the spread of this new and highly contagious disease. Festus locked himself in his laboratory, working ceaselessly to create a healing elixir. Countless sleepless nights passed, and despite his best efforts, Festus still had no cure. Those plague victims he managed to sequester in his laboratory were dying, and he was powerless to prevent it. As the last of his test subjects shook themselves to death, Festus dropped to his knees, crying out for help. One by one, the slack-jawed corpses in Festus's laboratory turned their heads to look at him, with one voice emanating from a score of parched throats. They promised to give Festus the knowledge necessary to cure not only this plague, but all diseases in the world, in exchange for a lifetime of service. In desperation, Festus agreed. In the blink of a bloodshot eye, Festus's mind was filled with every detail of every sickness, ailment, and plague known to the great god Nurgle. This drove him entirely mad, washed away his compassion, and left nothing more than an intimate knowledge of disease and desire to experiment. Festus became the Leechlord of Nurgle, who goes to war in the name of furthering his revolting studies. Though his curative powers are greater than ever before, woe betide the fool who crosses the doctor, for he is always in need of new test subjects, and not above force-feeding his latest concoctions to his victims in his quest to bring ever more repugnant forms of life into the world. It is a better fate by far to die on the field of battle than to be captured alive by Festus and used for his latest dark experiments. Festus himself was a rather interesting character in the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe. Nothing spectacular in the tabletop, especially for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, but a decent amount of lore to make him easily recognizable. His stats were decent for a character, but nothing too spectacular as I stated before, having average stats all around in terms of weapon skill, strength, and surprisingly toughness for a character that belongs to Nurgle. That's not to say that he wasn't decent enough in close combat, and obviously since Festus is also a wizard who uses spells from the lore of Nurgle, he was a fairly decent hybrid character. In regards to special rules, Festus had the following generics: Eye of the Gods, Mark of Nurgle, Poison Attacks, and Regeneration. These are easily translatable, and most have already been added into the Total War Warhammer series. However, he does have the following special rules. First is Harbinger of Pestilence, while Festus the Leechlord is in a unit, all models in that unit have the poison attack special rule. This, I believe, is simple enough to translate, where it's most likely that Festus's whole army will have poison attacks as a generic special rule. This makes sense, and we've also seen characters having a rule like this already. And secondly is healing elixirs. While Festus is in a unit, all models in that unit have the regeneration special rule. Now, there are probably multiple ways that this could be implemented, however I see it in the following. Either in a form of a banner that is always with Festus, where he can bestow that banner onto any unit of your choice, which then that unit in question will have access to the regeneration special rule. A second option would also be that the whole army has regeneration, but paired with poison attacks at the same time seems like a bit much. However, since this is only for campaigns, it could still be doable and fairly lore-friendly. Or finally, he could have a special ability, which could provide a map-wide AoE heal every now and again, just something to bring in the regeneration aspect. Maybe in a similar form as to how the Orc Wars are generated now, where the more damage you do, the more of a certain resource you'll build up, and then you could use that resource to cast off your spell. Unfortunately, Festus only had one magical item in the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe, the Pestilent Potions, which went as follows. At the beginning of each close combat phase, Festus may either drink his potions, in which he will immediately gain a lost wound, or try to force them down the throat of a single enemy model in base contact. These potions could do damage to their enemies or heal him, which could be an interesting system. Rather than seeing this as a magical item, maybe some sort of potion brewing mechanic could come into effect, where it could buff up your army in certain ways, or provide negatives to any enemies that may attack you. It's very strange here because this character obviously didn't really have a lot going for him in 8th edition. There was a second variant of Festus released in 8.5, known as the End Times, however most people, understandably so, rather shy away from any End Times material. But even then, Festus himself was just supercharged, nothing too impressive anyway. Now, in terms of implementation, I believe that Festus has a good chance to be a playable legendary lord for the Warriors of Chaos. At this point, it's more than likely we'd have to wait until Total War Warhammer 3 when the big Chaos rework comes, but it makes sense for this character to be added in eventually, seeing as right now the Warriors of Chaos are only being represented by Undivided or Slaneshi lords. Sure, there are a few characters that fit for the role of a Nurgle legendary lord for the Warriors of Chaos, but I believe we'll see Festus before any others. But what do you guys think about Festus the Leechlord? Do you think he has a chance to be a legendary lord for the Warriors of Chaos? And if so, do you know of any possible mechanics he may have? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. By the way guys, just to let you know that this week will be rather content heavy, just giving you a heads up. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.